Well, good morning, everybody. This is Deborah Windorf with Divine Jubilee Ministries, and I have a word for you that was also for me. Like I said, anytime there's an experience, we don't want those experiences to go to waste because we can learn things from them. So for those of you that have been keeping up, here is the result of my arm. It's much better than it was, as you saw it last week. Got into some poison ivy, and boy, the body was trying to mount a response, but the enemy used that against me in an amazing way, creating a huge amount of fear because of different things. But anyway, it created an opportunity for fear to take place. And I've learned a few things about that. Fear is a very powerful force. It can carry you places in your mind that you don't want to go. And you have to be careful with that. You have to be careful not to let your mind, your imagination go off in places. And it's amazing how it can do that. But I have a word today from, this is Matthew 12:34. And the King James version of it, we've heard before, is called, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Well, this one's out of the Passion Translation, and this is just the last segment of it that we're going to talk about. It says, "For what has been stored up in your hearts will be heard in the overflow of your words." So, and also there's a verse in Hebrews 11:1 that says faith is the substance. And I learned a little bit about that years ago when my husband was in the hospital, that faith is the substance, and I didn't really understand what that meant before until you get to use it. But what I've learned this time is, that faith is a substance, but it's not like money in the bank where you can be stored up and you can just pull it out when you need it. It's almost like it has to be, I know it's not biblical, I can't prove it biblically, but it's like it has to be primed. And you can't use stuff that you've had in the background and in words that you've had and pull those out necessarily right then, because sometimes it's hard, because out of the abundance of the heart the mouth is speaking. And when you're in the middle of something, it gave me a new appreciation for what Job might have been going through because of the sores and stuff, and I just remembered reading about what Job went through, and I was like, wow, that sounds a little bit familiar right now. But you can get carried away in your mind places. And when you get out there, I think that's why the enemy hits our body so much, is because he gets us to turn inward to ourselves, think about the things we don't have instead of the things we do have. And then it kind of gets you away from wanting to study the word. You kind of you're so self-absorbed at the time that you don't go there. You just don't go to the word. And if you don't go there, you can't prime it to get it to come out and come forward. And so I found out how not to do it. I found out some things about how not to handle the situation that I was in. I allowed my imagination to run wild. I let the enemy come in with fear and create a mess that just got worse, and it just spiraled into a mess. And I guess you can go there. I mean, a believer can go there too, obviously, because I did. And so just being careful of that, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth does speak. And even though there was a lot of word in my heart, it's just almost like I had a complete blank and I could not remember a single thing. It was just like it wasn't coming. It wasn't coming out of there. So like I said, it makes me think that maybe it is a prime type thing. You have to prime the pump to get it going. And I just couldn't seem to think of a single verse other than, the basic ones. And then instead of going to some source and trying to find that, you just don't, when you don't feel good, you just don't want to do any of that. You don't want to do any extra work. And faith is work. It's a battle. And sometimes if you get into a faith battle, you don't want to do it. You just don't want to get involved in it. You just want to make this go away, but it won't unless you use faith battles and weapons and stuff. So needless to say, my shield of faith was not up, and fiery darts were coming. And the more they came, the worse it got. So I learned from this experience, from this war, that I wasn't a very good warrior. Was not a very good warrior at all. I allowed it to just get worse and worse and worse. So don't do that. Learn from me on this. Don't do that. Immediately get into the word, get in there and strengthen, prime that pump to get that pump to work so that word will come out, because out of your abundance of your heart, your mouth's going to speak. And I was trying not to say anything, but it didn't matter whether I was saying anything or not. It was, my mind was going places. And then it caused a big panic attack mess. I mean, it just got into a big, huge mess. So I learned from this experience. Like I said, don't let any experience you have go to waste. So I'm going to share with you what I learned from that, is that you just don't want to go there. You've got to keep that word on tap. You've got to get that word where it'll pop out. And even though there was a lot in there, I couldn't trigger it. I couldn't seem to get it to, couldn't turn the pump on. I don't know what you would say, but it just wasn't there. And it wasn't that it's not in there, but I didn't have a way to get it out, it seemed like. I was just spiraling, and it just got worse and worse and worse. So those of you that are going through things, I hear you. I feel what you're saying. I understand what you're going through to some degree, because of what this recent war that I've been through. And be encouraged, though, that even though you may not start out very good, you can finish well. You can pick up your sword. See, that was right there. Pick up that sword. Why didn't I do that? The sword of the Spirit is the word. Why didn't I get that sword out and beat the devil with it? I didn't. I just didn't. And I admitted I didn't do it. And I should have. I let the devil beat me up and stomp all over me, and I just sat there. And no, I know better than that. And but when you're feeling bad and you've got attacks against your body, you turn so inward. It's amazing how inward we turn. And then out of the abundance of our heart, of being internal inside of ourselves, we stay inside there, and it just makes a mess. So in the future, I plan to handle things quite differently. But learn from me. Maybe that helps share experiences and stuff. And just like I said, trying to be very, very transparent. That things didn't go very well. The battle lasted a whole lot longer than it needed to, because I did not use my sword. I think it was in the sheath the whole time, which was not a good place for it to be. Obviously did not have my shield of faith up. Darts were coming. So now we know a little bit more about armor. You need to keep it on. Keep your armor on. Keep your sword ready to use. And those kinds of things. So be encouraged today that you can do that. That even though you may have messed up and didn't start out the war very good. Hey! Dogs. And so even though it may not start out very well. Hey! Sorry. Even though it didn't start out very well, it can end well. So be encouraged today. And I will see you next week.